And welcome back once again to the PCS Summer Split. We are here for the final game of week number 1. I'm still Pyrotechnics. He is still Clement. And it has been a long night, but we have had some roller coasters of games. But one final time, Clement, before we get into the pregame, I do want to thank our wonderful sponsor, CTBC Bank, for always being by our side. And of course, our wonderful broadcast partners as well, Carry Live, Garena, and Riot Games, for making this whole thing possible. Now, Clement, getting right down to it, this is one of the games you called for an upset, and it is CTBC Flying Oyster taking on the side of Frank Esports. So, tell me why you think it's going to happen.
All right, I got 4 alphabets for you. YSKM. Okay. This kid is an absolute monster. Currently, he is averaging 868 gold ahead at 15 minutes. He has infinite KDA, has not died anytime, and he's done so both times with blind picks. This guy actually just goes into game and blind picks Fiora, blind picks Jax, and destroys his lane. So that is the really good reason why I think that the Frank of old is not the Frank of today, and we have to watch that matchup between him and Rest.
Yeah, speaking of, there is Rest. Another man with 4 letters in his name up topside, but definitely not quite as aggressive. However, he is paired up against with Gemini, Mission, Atlan, and Koala. And yes, Atlan is still starting with this team, and that has been, I don't want to say cause for concern, but definitely a lot of questions considering how pivotal Shun was to this roster in spring.
CFO are going against the grain. Both of their compositions they've selected so far have been more tempo-oriented. We saw the Syndra and the Galio coming out from Mission. Not the usual suspects that you would think of in, quite honestly, a control mage heavy meta. You know, Corki and Azir and things like Victor are what you think of when you think of Mission, but he's actually been playing much, much faster. And so has the rest of the team as well. You know, Gemini plus Mission, they've been roaming around and just trying to get kills earlier on with tower dives. So CTBC have taken a very different approach to someone like PSG, which we just saw.
Absolutely, although they have been losing as well with 1-1 apiece. But Frank Esports, they have 2 wins on the board, looking to make it around 3 for this week. And of course, here is their lineup. They have made a couple of changes along with Holo, Pretender, Eminem, and Carries down in the bottom side, who I believe is just a name change from K2, so he's added a few letters. It is YSKM up top. Another way to spell that is Chad, because he has absolutely wrecked people with a blind pick Jax and Fiora. And I think Rest better watch himself in this matchup.
Oh boy, this is definitely not one where I think Rest is going to get away with BMing. The fun thing
is the BM king.
That is true. And sometimes he does BM when he loses as well, so it might still be the case. But coming back into Frank Esports a little bit more, I feel like, let me read what it is. I'm here to listen in again. Okay, so he actually listens to the Mandarin broadcast, and he makes reactions based on it. You know, they were complimenting him on his hairdo yesterday. They say if he puts his hair up, then he actually becomes 10 times stronger. So, just before they got into ban pick, he did do that. Oh, there you go. There we go.
There we go. Oh man, well, he did that in one flip. Okay, I just have to say, like, the mannerism, the chain, everything. Like, there's a lot of swagger for this young player. I love it.
Yeah, and you know, he's not a complete unknown player either. He did play in the amateur scene in the Asian Cups as well, and he was known for just blind pick Fiora regardless. So,
but this is also his meta, right? Like this. We have talked we've talked about a lot of players that are strong in the top lane here in the PCS and otherwise too, but like it's a meta where you can blind pick Fiora, and CFO know that, so they ban it away as we get into our final pick ban of the week.
I have to downvote that. I do not like that. I think Rest should stand up to the challenge and try to BM him, but they're showing the young one some respect. I mean, it's not my cup of tea, but I get the strategic thinking behind that one. And Frank Esports are just going to go with the most stock standard of bans. Frank have actually played both Kalista and Senna first pick, so it seems like they're pretty comfortable with either one. And I think CFO probably are better served just snagging the Viego if that's going to be the case.
Absolutely. Now, we have talked a lot about the new top laner, but I do think it's worth mentioning that Frank also have quite a lot of power other sides of the map. Pretender has been getting a decent bit of experience, was one of the players to try and step up and carry, of course, the lone player from PSG Talon. Eminem I mean, we know what Eminem can do. He is definitely one of our very solid bot lanes. So I think there's at this point, we now see that Frank has weapons in every lane.
For sure. This is going to be really fun to watch. Graves has been Rest's most successful champion in the previous split, but I really don't think Graves is as strong in this patch without the Hull Breaker. They're going to take the Senna outside of the Tom Kench and the Kalista matchup. It's very possible for Frank Esports to just snag the Kalista plus the Renata right off the bat. That is considered a strong winning lane against the Senna and TK.
All right, so Frank, we're just saying that's fine. We've got this. So that is going to be the lock-in on the Kalista. I don't know if the Renata comes out now or if they try to grab like a Prio jungle instead. I would think that might be a little bit of a better play. Now, Holo has kind of played kind of more signature sort of champion, so maybe they'll just let him like move a little bit on down the Prio list. They don't want to let the pick away happen. It's a possibility. So that is going to be the full bot lane lock-in.
I feel like forcing Viego, Gemini to go into Viego is also fine for them, since what we've seen from CFO has been very much tempo-based, and I want to say this, but Lee Sin is actually much better for CFO's style of gameplay compared to the Viego. So Frank Esports, you know, they get the Renata first, and they can still come around towards the Viego if they want to.
All right, so the Tom Kench is complete as well, so second time. Excuse me, they're one of the teams that we haven't seen play this, but they will be taking it once again. Usually we see the fasting Senna, of course. Atlan, kind of a late game mainstay. It does seem to be the strat. Certainly have some value there. Viego or Holo being covered. Should expect the lock-in, I would think. There it goes.
And this is going to be interesting because we haven't really delved that deep into YSKM's champion pool. So far, we've just seen the blind Jax and the blind Fiora, but if that's a pattern, he probably does play a lot of the sort of off-meta-ish fighters as well. So that could be a very
Aatrox kind of.
Yeah, things like the Aatrox, you know, even Ribbon is getting played quite a bit these days.
I was about to say, that's a possibility, right? There's a lot of stuff. And then, you know, even if they ban a lot out, there's always stuff like the Camille. That can give you some value, and it also lets you play in a team fights a little easier.
Do have Frank, I would say, with the, you know, both of these teams, these compositions are just so powerful. It's kind of hard to decide where you're going to go with the draft on each of one. And we do see CFO pay even more attention, just taking away the Aurelia right off the bat. So usually that does signal something safer as a blind pick, maybe a Gnar in mind for Rest.
How hilarious would it be if YSKM just plays like Ornn?
I'd be sorely disappointed.
Yeah, it's probably more likely on the Rest side. But also, respect being paid to Mission. I did not like the Syndra. I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah, the Azir makes a lot more sense that they ban that out. I feel like this could be a setup for an Orianna play that is kind of an old Mission standby as well. But critically, the Galio has been left up. If you wanted to go towards that, it doesn't really have a lot of damage if they do that.
Yeah, I feel like Frank do want to open up more late game options. I think they are a team that still likes to play a little bit slower and more team fight centric. So I do expect them, you know, kind of go with Corki. Corki does have a lot of lane counters, things like Orianna can push him in quite easily. But from what we've seen, Frank Esports, strong bot, strong top is kind of the way they go. And they still have the main damage dealer as Pretender. Pretender is no slouch by himself, even though we've been seeing the praises of the other two lanes. Every lane from Frank is actually just very strong in PCS standards.
Yeah. And it's also this pretty slippery comp they're building for themselves, right? Like, we've already seen the Kalista Renata just deny so many kills. And the Corki, you know, like, he's got his own built-in escape as long as he saves the Valk. You could say the same thing for Holo. And that is going to be the Gnar blind for Rest. And I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Last split felt like it was even riskier in a lot of cases, but the Gnar kind of is a good combo champion. Mission goes ahead and locks in the Victor as well. So kind of a good generic setup for CFO side.
Yeah, the CFO composition is, I would say, it's very difficult to discern, like, what direction it might be played in. It has so many different tools, like, they don't really lack anything. I'd say the only thing they're kind of weaker on is just, you know, they don't really have a very stable front line, but neither does Frank Esports, so that kind of goes on the sideway. In terms of the lane matchups, I actually think the topside matchups are quite strong. for CFO. The Gnar matchup, if it gets jungle attention early on, can actually beat out the Camille matchup in a lot of times. And of course, you expect the Victor to be able to outpush on the Corki. So they do have a strong top side and a utility bottom side, which is kind of how CFO like to draft.
Yeah. For Frank's side, I'm almost surprised the Camille ends up being the choice there for YSCam, just because I think we saw such a big splash early on. But we'll have to see how well he actually plays it, right? And I think Camille's a very versatile pick. You can go for the side lane play. You can go ahead and try to assist the team in any way, shape, or form. And you can't really deny how useful the Hextech Ultimatum can be to try and get a pick off across the board. You can line up a lot of shots with the Corki Rockets. So you said CFO looking a little bit better on the top half of the map. Maybe Frank Esports can hold them at bay. Talked about maybe an upset, Clement. So overall, draft-wise, are you favoring CFO based on what you've seen?
I do like the side of Frank actually a little bit more. I feel like they have much more initiation. This is a composition that can catch people off guard super easily. You throw out Fate's Call Camille, and she can kind of just catch anyone. And then you also have the semi-global from the package on Corki. So it's a very difficult composition to allocate your lanes against. If you're not aware that the enemy team is grouping, I do like the agency that the composition from Frank Esports does give you. However, if their laning phase doesn't go correctly and Gemini beats out Holo, as he has done many times in the past, then, you might not get to that point.
That is fair. There's a lot of questions to answer. Ooh, look at this, Frank. Oh, boy. You were hoping for a little pick-off early on. Try and shut Rest down. Maybe keep the BM from flying. But nothing doing. He's not in lane yet. So nice try. I do appreciate when a team does it, though.
Pretty standard start coming in from the bottom side. You want to ward up that brush, so when Gnar does push in, you can't abuse that brush to poke you down. Take a look at the runes. Yeah, everything pretty standard right here. Do have the grass in the top lane from both top laners as well.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the biggest things, from spring to summer for me actually is seeing this explosion of first strike, right? Like it was a very few set of champions that used it, but now it's kind of really added a lot up. And I think especially with Corki rising and such high priority, obviously that's been a big part of it too.
And we have seen people just decide to go with the first strike compared to something like the fleet footwork that gives you a little bit more sustain. The first strike, packs a bit of damage and also just gets you to your item breakpoints faster, which is what you're kind of looking to do in the laning phase. And I also just think that with the extra durability, the base HP that everyone gets, since it's harder for you to actually just die in lane, I feel like it does make more sense in a lot of matchups for the first strike.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, we are away. Tender, take a little bit of damage in the early. Gatling guns on, mission can't safely step forward. And normally you would consider this to be when a Victor's in lane, maybe a little bit more on the safe side, but yeah, Corki can take a lot of damage early on before he can dish it right back out. So keep our eyes on the bot lane a little bit too, but Son of Kench, one of those things that can try and deny a lot of the kills early on, but Eminem already starting the zone off. This is in fact the fasting Senna we are used to seeing.
You really don't expect the Senna TK to fight the Kalista Renata earlier on, level 1, level 3, incredibly powerful. So they're just going to help leash and back off for now. I think this is a pretty standard start. I do believe that most of the action is going to be headed topside. This is one of those lanes, if Camille gets ahead, she can definitely snowball it quite hard. And similar thing can go for the Gnar. Like once he gets out of just enough HP and sort of out of kill range from the Camille, then there's not a whole lot you can do. I feel like it's a very it's kind of a very comparative lane. Like who gets ahead typically does stay ahead in this one.
Oh yeah. Keep in mind what's at stake here, Clement. Very important. YSKM has not died in the PCS just yet. 2 games, deathless, perfect KDA, divided by 0. The whole universe collapses into a black hole, right? Let's see if Rest can save the day, or if the order will continue for YSKM.
Seems like a very strong jungle start for him, and I don't think that they will be... Oh, actually, YSKM a lot lower than I thought he would be, so there is a chance for a kill.
After this Krugs, I think we definitely have to keep our eye up there. I don't think he knows that Gemini's around. Doesn't want to cede control. Tack sweep on, just try and cut a little bit off the wave.
Well, he
Gotta
knows
know
now.
something's up here. Okay, no, they're not gonna go for the dive just yet.
Yeah, he does see the Krugs right there, so he definitely knows that there could be a chance, but he's so healthy up here, I don't think it can really happen. And Russ already into Mega, no wall up, he's definitely fine.
Alright, well. Was hoping for it, didn't end up happening. That's okay. Now, Holo, a little bit behind the curve, is gonna realize that his Krugs are gone if he heads up there. Instead, he just goes straight to the Raptor camp instead. So, CFO getting away with a little bit of a cheeky counter jungle. Gemini doing pretty well across the map. We'll want to keep an eye on where the Lee Sin goes. They picked this one out very early. Try and get some tempo advantage. That's something that CFO have been playing for in their games. I know we talked about how it's a bit of a weird read on the meta for them, and I think they have had some struggles, and their team comps maybe haven't been optimal. Gemini actually going to find Holo in jungle right now. To trade back and forth through the hard path. Both mid laners looking to get involved, but they back away.
Holo does get the first strike down there, and Gemini loses a bit more HP on the trade. He should, in theory, be winning that one. Oh, Wise-Can still finding the hook shot.
Yeah, this is why we're excited about this guy, right? Like, yeah, he's down CS. Yeah, like, you know, he gets outranged, he gets outzoned by the Gnar, but still, opted into this matchup. Had to have a reason for it.
Camille is one of those quote-unquote Gnar counters that never seems to work out. It just has a very low win rate in the matchup itself. So it's kind of interesting to see this one. I really think it's kind of an outskill matchup. It's definitely not always a Holo.
3v3,
Yeah.
all right. Atlan. Ooh, forced to flash away. There we go. Not going to be followed by any of the FAK Esports members. So they get a flash just for running at him. Not a bad trade to start things off, keeping in mind, pre-6 is a lot easier to try and gank the Senna. No
both
Tom
teams
Kent
were
to
there,
power.
but they didn't manage to get the jump onto Holo right there. They actually just switched positions between Koala and Holo, and Atlan is the one that has to pay the price for that one, as he just burns the flash right away.
I'm actually going to start off on this Dragon. So the timing actually worked out well for CFO to try and take this away. Although he's very, very low as to smite for health. There's nobody there to try and contest anyways, but he will need Koala's help to try and finish the job. Gonna solo out the Cloud Drake a little bit tough early on. So, gets it done. With the down vote. Here comes Holo on mission. Oh, wow, Carries is here as well. They're just going to chase him away.
Yeah, this is purely just to reset the wave. I don't think they really want to risk the potential for Pretender being blown up here. You see the Chaos Storm already there for mission, and they just want to make sure that Pretender can't recall in peace right here. I think so far the game, like if it's going to go on to this tempo, definitely does favor CFO a little bit. For FAK Esports, what they're waiting for is just the first package and the ability to make catch plays with Fate's Call. I feel like they have an insanely powerful, they can cross over multiple layers of terrain with just a couple abilities, and it's going to be hard to run away from him. So I think it's going to be a huge test to see if Gemini can actually keep his bottom lane alive.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I think one thing I want to see a little bit more out of this FAK bot lane is Carries, you can see, is kind of starting to use the brush to try and push forward and find like handshake poke, but I hadn't really seen it much earlier in this. And I kind of feel like you have sort of an inherent range advantage. You really want to try and use that best you can. Pretty big farm lead. I mean, this is kind of the thing that you expect to see. Obviously comparing the Tom Kench farm to the Callista. But we'll see how it goes. Narbar about to come up. There it goes for rest. But a lane gank coming in for Holo. Let's see how well YSCam can bait this.
Let's see if he has some good acting classes here. Russ is almost about to go under Mega.
Hextech ultimatum. There it is. Gonna run through. However, it's a bit of distance to cover. They do get the stun. Rest holds on to Flash, and a tower shot even comes in for Holo. Here comes Gemini. Forces the Flash out of Holo to get out of the Sonic Wave. Nicely played by CFO.
Yeah, really well done there. Rest holds his ground, knowing that he's not going to fall down, and gets the extra flash there. So I would count that a win for the side of CFO, and they're going to move now with a close to 20 CS lead onto Rest into the Herald.
Yeah, that's a pretty big one right now. So Rest has really been able to withstand the pressure of the hotshot rookie. I guess the experience is going to trump the raw skill, at least for the time being. It is such an interesting matchup where we see such a stark difference there. Like Rest, obviously, player spent 4 years on the J team side, competitive career goes back to 2017, a little earlier if you talk about like J-Team 2. Of course, you know, member of CTBC Flying Oyster since its inception at the start of the year. Compared to YSKM, mostly amateur experience up till now. So, it does count for something. Rest knows not to over-push his hand.
Yeah, and what we're seeing is that CFO, you know, getting the leads that they are supposed to get in the top side. We talked about the matchups and the fact that earlier on Lee Sin is the superior jungle matchup, so you do think that the top lane should go into the side of Gnar as well. And they're just looking for an opportunity to drop this Herald down and further their lead. There's a lot of different places they could go. I feel like going mid lane actually isn't even that bad, since Mission has shown that he's consistently been able to get the shove in this lane against Pretender as well. So I think what we're just going to see is kind of the CFO fork Herald mid and go into the Drake.
Makes sense to me. Nice and easy game plan. So CFO looking to try and control it.
Ooh.
Best they can. That back actually going to get stopped as Holo and Carries think they have an opener here, and that's going to be the ultimate coming out of the Renata Glass. Does push Wall and Atlan back and sends them from continuing their aggression, especially 3v2. Get back to the safety of the tower.
Yeah, really cheeky play right there. Just taking a lot of HP, getting the ultimate down, and getting themselves, I believe, a plate off of that kind of like back gank. So small windows and small leads here and there coming in. The thing we should be paying attention to is coming in with the package here. It should be relatively soon. Let's see if Tenor has picked it up just yet.
Tender's a little low, though, too. You know, I think you got to be careful against somebody like Mission. A sizable CS lead as well in that mid lane, too. We have to keep in mind he's been pushed back a bit. Mission knows how to play his way around control mages. I think all the more reason it was a bit of a head scratcher to see him on like Syndra and Galio to kick things off. It almost felt like CFO had a bit of a weird read on this meta.
Yeah, it felt like it was unnecessarily, I think, hemming Mission's potential in. I really feel like Mission, you know, I think his best role is still control mage and late game hyper carry. That's kind of how he's been the entire time. He's not someone that's known for leaving his lane quite a bit. He's always been known for overstaying in his lane, actually, and getting those massive leads just on his own. So I think this role does fit him a little better. I predicted that CFO would... they went in a very different direction than what I thought they would. I thought they were going to run Shun and then also run Mission as carry.
There's still plenty of time to see Shun as well, but yeah, the mysteries of CFO. We'll have to see what the answers are to that as Frank Esports take away the Mountain Drake. And wouldn't you know it, we're going to close out our week with another Hextech Rift, Clement.
Ooh,
fun. Oh, Tender. Oh. This package is not for you, he says.
First package.
Oh boy. YSKM into the Hextech Ultimatum. Still hasn't died. Keep it in mind. He denies it. Yet again, however, the Rift Herald pop, that's going to mean the flip down bottom side for Frank Esports. Are going to hope to try and get this one. Chase Koala and Atlan off, looking for the dive potentially. Handshake doesn't land as he gets rooted down. A lot of plates getting dropped here, but it is a race for the first tower, and I think with Shelly, CFO should win it.
Ooh, Frank Esports took a lot of damage right there, so they're not able to secure the 3v2. Meanwhile, CFO, with rest here, they could continue to just choke out YSKM here. There's really not much reason to head away here, so I think the first brick gold will be going down.
I think you're right. So, nicely played by CFO, building themselves little advantages despite it being 0-0 in the kills. With that first brick and the CS leads they've been able to accumulate, already a decent, respectable advantage for the Flying Oyster in this one.
Yep, and I think this is when Frank Esports actually have more chances to find kills, and once the map opens up and people are more scattered, then the mobility that you have, the catch potential that you have really becomes quite a bit stronger. So, you know, even with the tower down, I feel like Frank Esports could use this to their advantage. They could easily sneak away YSKM to somewhere else, and here's the interesting part. I'm not sure if Frank actually plays this type of a style. They're a very slow team. They were one of the slowest teams outside of PSG that we had in the PCS. So I want to see if they can switch it up and actually utilize all of these tools that they've drafted for themselves.
Yeah, I think it's good to see them trying to expand their repertoire, but you're right. There is a little bit of a a question of how well they'll be able to play it. I mean, already they have one of the higher average game times, about 32.5 minutes. I know that doesn't seem like that long, but in this meta, I think it might be. And then in the spring split, it was about 31-20, if I recall correctly. So, yeah, I'd like to see them speed it up a little bit. Speaking of, though, CFO, they're gonna wrap around Koala. Goes in on the Hex Gate. They found Holo. It's a really good position there for CFO. Teleport's not going to come through. However, there is the Ronaldo. Last ultimate carries, tries his best to stay alive. First blood does come in for Pretender. But they're going to pay for it a little bit. Eminem and Holo already fallen in this one. YSKM inside the Hex Gate. Hold him in and flashing away, protecting the perfect record. And he will go down to rest at the end of the day.
Really nicely done on the catch from CFO, using the Hex Gate to surprise people as FAK Esports try to close in on the objective. And also another key thing in that fight was Gnar was in the fight a lot longer compared to YSKM. So I feel like this is just CFO having the better plan coming into this engagement. So if we watch this again, you do have Gnar walking down here. I think it does get here faster, but no, it doesn't matter here. As they get the pick here, they get Holo down immediately, bail out use. They have more poke damage, more focused fire damage in this area. And, you know, K2 just can't get into this one. It just feels like FAK Esports are kind of dancing around one-on-one while CFO were already ready to pounce on the objective.
Coordination definitely looking better from the CFO side. Knew exactly what they wanted to do. Koala, really good setup. Jumping right into the fray and kind of keeping everybody occupied for a moment. Want to give them a lot of credit for that engagement. So Rift Herald secured, tower down bot secured, another dragon is spawning in about a minute, and CFO just decided to accelerate this game. They've got their gold lead up to just shy of 4,000 on the map. Eminem's going to try and cut into that a little bit by taking out tower down bot that they had been trying to race for earlier.
All right, this is the big test, you know, outer towers down, map kind of wide open. You know, where will FAK Esports go? The key thing about this style of play is sometimes you have to be willing to give up turret HP. You just fake out a wave. The enemy team might think that you want to pick up a big wave, and then you show up somewhere else. So I really want to see if FAK can pull off this style of play. You have to give something here, and you know, they just have so much engage. It would be such a shame to not see them actually utilize Fate's Call, Hextech Ultimatum. They definitely should be able to lock targets down. Koala and Atlan do not have any flashes here.
No, that's true. There's a timing window to work with if you are FAK Esports. The problem is they're not really finding those openings, and now the Hextech Dragon going to be started here by CFO. FAK Esports are going to fully cede control of it right now. It seems like they might be a bit lost in the sauce.
Yeah, it's so weird because CFO has just managed to pick up multiple objectives after objectives. FAK Esports once again out of position here in the mid lane now.
Uh-oh. Carries completely deleted. Gemini picks him up, and really nice sniff out there in the CFO side. Mission has been everywhere. He's been involved in every one of these kills so far, and now Pretender.
Oh, Gemini going in?
Caught out. Oh, the global comes on through for Atlan. Doesn't quite find what they were looking for. Gemini, though, going to get locked up in that Hextech Ultimatum. Well, excuse me, it was just sitting in it from YSKM. Didn't really matter. At the end of the day, they pick him back up, at least. A little bit of gold back. Eminem getting swallowed up and taken down. This time in favor of Mission.
What a collapse from FAK. That was two objectives going the other way and then another kill. I just don't feel like they are in the right place at all. Like, they're not being proactive, and they're also not anticipating what CFO are going to do on the map. So it's just a very weird situation where they're just bleeding all over the place. Honestly, the only blemish there was Gemini kind of messing up his combo. You know, he queued, missed his Sonic Wave, and then flashed in for the kick. So it's kind of a weird one. He does pay the price for it, but in grand scheme of things, CFO just kind of got a 2 for nothing.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. Russ has got the most gold in the game right now. He's just kind of been farming up himself, and 2 Adam Gnar are going to be a bit of a threat on the side lane. It's going to be hard for YSKM to try and match that pressure, and there's a pretty sizable CS lead. Not to mention, it's just like a full item diff at this point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the thing, is like, YSKM opted into this matchup. Rest kind of was just fine in the 1v1. Not a whole ton of jungle pressure provided either way. We talked about at the beginning of the game, we thought this was going to be the place where the teams were going to make their mark, but Yeah, I feel like Frank have been reactive and not very quickly reactive. A little bit of a surprise given how their split started.
And, you know, to be fair, I feel like their strategies in the previous 2 games have been mainly around, okay, we'll wait in some lanes and we'll utilize just YSKM later on. Well, should be able to catch anyone here. I'd be very surprised if he does. Frank do back
Deep
out.
Push. CFO controlling so much of this jungle right now. I mean, this is early, right? The Baron hasn't even spawned yet, and they're already controlling the area around the pit, and then some. A lot of pressure on this tower. Here comes Holo. Gets a stun off as he dashes forward, and the Death Lasers catching carries as well. Mission's really feeling himself. I mean, again, this is why we like this guy on a control mage, because he doesn't just control from being jumped on, from being killed. He pushes forward and makes you pay for your positional errors.
Someone really needs to shot call on Frank Esports. They just gave away another objective because Eminem was in the bot lane with YSKM. I don't even know why he was there, to be honest. I feel like they were trying to catch someone, maybe catch out the Gnar, and CFO just did the kind of more standard play. Go up, they ward behind the tower, and they realized, wait a minute, we have a 4v3? Okay, I guess we'll take a tower.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Frank Esports. It feels like in the very beginning of the game, they had a plan in mind, but it's kind of gone out the window, whatever it was. YSKM hookshotting away from the jump in from Gemini Mission and Atlan as they continue to control the jungle. It just feels like it's a numbers game at this point. You can see the gold graph, how it's gone. It's just been completely in control, dictated entirely by CFO, the tempo, everything. They're just doing everything on the map, every move they make.
Yeah, and Frank Esports just don't have a response. They gave over 3 towers to nothing and did not even get a single engage. So I'm a little bit baffled by what they're trying to do here. I feel like the answers aren't even all that, difficult. Like, if you just run at the side of CFO while Gnar is in the side lane, you have a very good chance of getting engaged down. But they kind of missed that window where both of the flashes were down between Atlan and Koala, and now it's going to be a lot harder to execute.
We were complimenting their improved synergy at the start of the day, but Gemini does get caught there. But this feels like a bit of a regression, Clement. This feels like a team that had to get tossed together at the last minute and didn't have a lot of time to practice on stage. Not a team that's had an entire split under their belts.
Alright, we should have Pretender coming with the package here, so maybe this is the opportunity that they can turn things around. They are down 5k, but as we talked about, it's all about making the faster move here. Pretender could definitely cut the Gnar and the other members of the team off. Go for it. They should.
Okay. Looking for the chase down onto Koala, onto Atlan. They do throw carries out there, and the chase is on, but Mission with the Death Laser, that's going to be the hostile takeover. Only catches one, gets wasted through as the Chaos Storm turns them back around, and look at how low some of these members are. Inside track given for CFO. Package still on. I think they're going to see control. They're actually going to try and flip for Baron.
Oh boy, I just feel like Frank Esports is the boyfriend that is kind of scared of saying I love you. It's like 6 months into the relationship.
They won't commit, Clement.
I know, they just spent 2 ultimates on that. I'm so surprised they didn't try to all in on that. They knew that CFO were out of position and they just kind of let them walk away.
I don't get it. CFO, they've got Soul Point, 22 minutes into the game. Another tower, the 5th. All they need to do is kill this last one, and it's only Frank base. It feels like it's just paint by numbers, League of Legends edition. It's a single-player game. PvE.
All right, I need to see some fight back here. Koala is offering himself up.
Okay, Gemini was looking for that one. The center from downtown nearly finds Holo, who limps away. They don't find the kill, but they continue to squeeze Frank Esports. Just bleeding.
Yeah, that's 5 objectives, no successful engages from the side of Frank. Like these aren't even trades at this point. This is just CFO getting whatever they want.
I mean, they sound like we're being a little harsh right now, but yeah, Frank just are not reacting to the plays. I mean, a half-hearted attempt to rush Baron and then just peel off completely. Like, I feel like I'm like the really bad like stick figure drawing of the dude that's just like poking something with the stick. Like, come on, do something.
Yeah, I felt like the mid lane engage, they definitely, you know, could have just gone all in on that one. Karis was actually very hesitant to pop the hostile takeover, so nobody stood in place. You know, CFO were actually super spread out, and they had vision of that as well. And you also have the package on the side, but they just didn't pull the trigger. I don't really understand. You just pop the ultimate if you're the Renata Glass in that situation, and that's the advantage of your composition. You actually draft it for mobility, so I really hope they use it. But they are kind of far behind at this point. I guess some old Frank habits do die hard. Let's see if they can turn things around.
Yeah, they're not out just yet. They're just not doing themselves any favors here. I want to see a really good counter engage. They know that CFO are going to be setting up for these objective fights. Be careful though. Valk already uses their split across the map. Holo halfway down on his HP bar, and there's a chase down for the rest of the team. Holo's going to have to heartbreak over the wall and dash to avoid the tongue lash. And see CFO starting to close things. That's the Gnar into the wall. YSKM does get stunned up. Koala going to join in as well, and YSKM going to try to hold on to this last tower outside the base. But I think it will be a futile effort. CFO continue their tour of Summoner's Rift.
And we're starting to see the BM. You know, I think CFO have realized, hey, wait a minute, this is still the same Frank Esports,
Yep.
and they're willing to give them the same level of respect right there. We see the crying jinx. I believe that was from Rest. I'm not 100% sure, but
I mean, it's a good bet anytime you see an emote flashed in game that it's probably from Rest. And he's feeling pretty good about everything right now because he has completely neutralized the new hotness of YSKM. This is going to temper some expectations on the Frank Esports side. Not only that, he's probably pretty unkillable at this point. Get the Hydra, the Frostfire Gauntlet, Randuin's Omen. Hasn't really had to deal with a whole lot of pressure down side lanes or even in a 5v5, and his Narbar has been pretty on point.
Yeah, I really like this build coming in from him, and basically understands that, hey, you know, Corki has to wave clear somewhere else. We're gonna match the we're gonna match the Victor against the Corki, and I'm gonna play on the side lane, so I can all in into physical damage builds right here. You know, it's not gonna go for the force of nature just yet, and this is a build that actually pushes very fast onto side lanes, which is something that Gnar does have trouble with because his push actually turns him into Mega Gnar, which is much harder to deal chip damage with. I really like this build. This is one of my favorite builds on the Gnar.
Oh boy, YSKM. He really wants to make a play here. Gets the tack sweep on. There's going to be the Hextech Ultimatum, but the teleport coming through on both sides. YSKM. Oh, he's debating it right now, but they can't quite get the play. The Mega Gnar comes through, and Pretender just chucks out the big rockets. Now the rest of the team looking to join the fray here, Clement. Frank Esports have decided they must do something, but they don't know what.
I mean, it was a decent attempt, even though it was a little bit more, I would call that a solo queue-ish attempt. It's basically, look, do you want to 1v1 me, bro? If not, okay, we'll call in teleports, but I don't think that was really in sync with any of their catch potential. Like, that was actually just more of a 1v1 play.
it was one of those things where, like, you know, it's like two guys, like, you know, get into a shouting match, they're going to start throwing bows, they're going to start fighting, they call up all their friends, and other friends are like, whoa, we don't want to fight, come on. We're not going to do that. Hold them away from each other. Frank are going to start the Baron, though.
Okay.
This is full vision. They have a Callista. They can shred
Rest
it.
no TP.
Will they commit? Rest is not have a TP to get involved in the fight. YSKM does as well. Oh, no! Into the pit! They just blow up Eminem and Holo for the instant double kill and say thanks for the leash.
Durability patch, oh my god, I can't believe that just happened. Mission deleted both targets with one rotation.
Yeah. How's that for a glorious evolution? Is that Victor from Arcane?
Yeah, it could be. I think it's the full evolution, you know? All the human parts are gone.
Oh, good lord. Yeah, he's 4-0. He's 3 items. He builds the Medjais to add insult to injury. Mission is online.
Yeah, that was absolutely disgusting to watch. Like, we've been paying so much attention to the side lanes, we forgot that, you know, Mission's just been free farming this entire game.
And here's the thing, he's kind of lulled us into a false sense of security. We saw a Galio game, and then the Syndra just didn't do much, and it's like, we know he can do this. And why did it take 3 games?
Oh, that was so disgusting. It happened so quickly, too.
I want to see a replay in, like, slow-mo, because that, yeah, you blink and you miss it. I do applaud the effort from Frank Esports to try something, but yeah, unfortunately, it's a little bit late. And now CFO are knocking on the base. They got to be feeling pretty good about things. I think Frank Esports may have given him a little bit of an easier time than they would have liked, or than, you know, than Frank would have liked. But a win's a win, and CFO are knocking on the door here to close out their week at a respectable 2-1.
Yeah, I gotta see some fight from Frank Esports, okay? You might have messed up the macro, but last ditch, come on, man. You gotta go in. Please.
Package is on. Come on, Pretender, can you be the hero? You're running out of towers right now. This will be the desperate effort. Holo looks for rest, doesn't find it. No, they turn around, get cold feet at the last second, and gonna get blown through at this point. That is going to be a mostly dodge out of the Renata Glass ultimate, and that is gonna be lights out. GG's. CFO taking it in about 29.5 minutes.
Oh boy, that was, I'll be honest, that was a very frustrating game to watch because after a bit of a back and forth, Frank Esports didn't do anything when they were down 4,000 gold. Like, they did trade back a single tower, they lost every single objective, and they didn't even get a kill for it. I just feel like I was kind of robbed of the second half of the game. Like, CFO, I even think CFO were kind of surprised by how the game went at the end. Like, you could tell that they were flashing emotes, and they were just kind of generally being quite jolly about the finish of the game, but well, I have to say, this is kind of the problem with Frank Esports in Spring Split as well, is that they sometimes just kind of lacked that fighting spirit, and they weren't able to match Mako correctly. They had great tools for pick composition. We talked about, you know, the Camille, the Fate's Call, the package. They had so many ways to actually catch people out and engage, but they just were kind of shy about actually executing it.
Yeah, that was the real troubling thing, is that they just didn't use the tools, and not even like at the wrong time. They just kind of didn't feel like going for the plays. Now here is the Baron fight. We do get to see a replay. I feel like you got to keep your eyes on the victor.
Let's get the slow-mo.
RQEW,
goodbye.
That should be illegal. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Baron probably helped, shredded some of that magic resistance, but that's just what late game Victor does for you. That was yeah, mission's back. I think they're not going to go into the Syndra much more when you can do that with Victor anyway.
I hope so. This is the CFO that I think I expected to see coming into the summer split. At the same time, yeah, Frank gave him a little bit of an easier time, and going forward, I'm curious to see where they develop from here. They clearly have decided, at least for the time being, Atlan is the guy, and he has performed respectably. I think the Senekench kind of strategy does work for this team. I really want to applaud Koala especially, because the engages, sometimes set up with the assist from the Hex Gates, really helped out. And I think Koala does have that killer instinct, and maybe Frank Esports watching this VOD back are going to maybe learn a thing or two from him.
Yeah, I feel like Koala definitely is in his element when he's playing this Tahm Kench. He likes to play
change his name to Drop Bear.
That's a good one. He likes to play champions that have some characteristics of Guardians. I think his Alistar and probably his Tahm Kench are his best champions overall. Of course, he does have that Pocket Bard he takes out every now and then. On the flip side, you know, just taking a cursory look at the ban pick, I thought this matchup would be much more about the top side. The bot side actually naturally comes out ahead for the side of Frank Esports, so the jungle should have gone top a little bit more to swap the matchup. That's usually how the Camille versus Gnar matchup goes. It tends to be a bit one-sided depending on jungle priority early, and we didn't actually see any ganks there from Holo. And you know, I think we've railed enough about their mid to late game, but I think the early game setup, that was where I was a little bit. I felt like there was a little bit of a issue there.
I felt like they did not use YS Cam to the effect that I think we were expecting, right? I mean, the Camille pick was one thing, but then yeah, not setting up for it. Like, you have a player that kind of blind picks hard carry champions and does exactly that in the first two games. You know, never mind the fact that they were playing up against Sem9 and Impunity, two of the teams that I think we have a lot more upside for Impunity and also Sem9 compared to their spring form. But still, they are two of the weaker teams in the league until proven otherwise. CFO is a very different customer, and I wonder if Frank just lost a bit of their nerve with the nameplates. I feel like that's the only explanation that makes sense.
Yeah, that's definitely possible because, you know, new players do have sort of nerve issues, even from someone like YSKM. I think that's definitely could be the case here. But overall, I just want to say I don't think I've ever seen them play a super convincing catch composition. This is not one of the comps that have been known to execute. And they are much more about team fight, about grindy front to back type of situations. So I feel like we get a pretty good sense of where Frank might be going with their compositions. I think they could still play a 4-1 comp and give YKSM compositions that just naturally scale a little bit better in his own lane. So that could still be an option for them.
Yeah, and you said, is Mission back? Oh yeah, he is. 40% damage. 100% kill participation, and yeah, the glorious evolution has arrived, and his name is Mission.
I hope that this is the direction they decide to go in. Just have the late game, have Mission as your hyper carry, because he can get to those points. This is a meta where if you lock in a 0 Corki, you're almost guaranteed to see a 3 item. Now, that wasn't really the case in Spring. Like, a lot of times game didn't and just ended before you ever got to 3 items. But in this patch, it's pretty commonplace.
Yeah, no, really good look for Mission. I think the only wonder is why it took a couple of games to get here, but maybe they're just working at the kinks, trying a few things. Obviously, they had a bit of a weird read on the meta, or so it seemed, but the correction comes fast, so CFO can end their week at 2-1. Let's go ahead and take a look at the results on the week now that we are done and dusted. For today, we started off with Deep Cross Gaming getting the win against Impunity, MFT beating Dewish, Type A J Team taking out Sem9, and then the big upset happened. Mega Bank Beyond Gaming beat PSG. Well, look at the standings, how they stand now, and it is Beyond Gaming and J Team up there atop, followed, of course, closely by CFO, Frank Esports, and PSG Talon. And after the fact, Deep Cross Gaming find their first win, but are still going to be in the hunt for more. Impunity fallen down today, MFT just behind them, and then Dewish and Sem9 are the teams still looking for wins. Who do you think is more likely to pick up that W, though, Clement?
Oh boy, for now, I'm actually going to surprise some people with this, but I actually think Sem9 has that shot. I feel like they trust in their rookies and they have some direction. For Dewish Team, I'm not sure what that direction is just yet. I think that I expected them to either play super mid jungle heavy or to utilize more of a poke comp, but neither of those has really come true. Like, they haven't truly committed to either one or trying to perfect them. So I guess we'll have to find out.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I agree with you. I think Sem9 are probably going to be the team to find that win first. However, it will be very tough next week because we will open up. They'll have to play against PSG Talon. We also have Impunity taking on CTBC Flying Oyster, Mega Bank Beyond Gaming up against Dewish Team. J Team versus Frank Esports. That'll be another big test. And then Deep Cross Gaming will close out the day against MFT. What are the big matches that stand out in your mind, Clement?
Oh, for week 2, coming into day 1, I think Impunity versus CTBC is still one of my favorite, and J Team versus Frank, the other one. I think both teams are fairly similar in the way they play around their AD carries, and the top lane matchup is going to be fun because I think you are going to see who is J Team's actual top laner when they have to go up against YKSM.
Oh boy, I can't wait to see it, but that is all for us this week. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. The PCS Summer will continue, but for now, we're signing off.